T minus 1 minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
What is up? What is up? What is up, everybody? Sorry about the short notice, but I figured let's just get it out of the way. You know, what do you say? So, as we all know, Foodie is on this ever so reading performative anyway, diabetic health incoming arc. Okay. And I've been keeping up with this over the last couple of days. I've had my little stuff to say here and there, but for the most part, I have kept my overall opinion kind of subdued. And since all of this has played out, I've been doing a little digging, found out some interesting stuff, and I thought I'd share it with you guys. So let's see who all we got today. Hello, Blondie. How are you? Starburst and the beautiful kitty photo. Hello, hello. Hello, Camps. How are you, my dear? Elizu. Hi. QZ, good to see you. Been missing you around these parts. Sense of Wonder, welcome. Good to see you. Miss Jarella, nothing but love for you. So. I know everybody has had their whole conversations around this diabetes arc, around the things that she's saying, the things that she's doing. I have compacted all these videos down to a nice little digestible amount. And we're going to get into that simply because, you know, why not? Hang on here. Let me find it. Because I'm having a moment. My coffee has not kicked in all the way just yet, but that's okay. We're going to get... Shut up. Sorry about that. All right. So let's get into this. We're just going to jump right into it. I'm going to tell y'all the God's honest truth. I completely bypassed Amber altogether on all of this because Amber's fuckery is just standard day-to-day fuckery. Her stirring up shit and then denying shit and all that other stuff. Prototypical manipulative behavior. So there's really no point in really getting that far into it. So we're going to jump here straight into this woman's insanity. Let me make sure the volume is up so you guys can hear. All right. Oh, let's see. Let's go.
So my blood sugars have rocketed in not that long of a time.
If you want to talk about the last 3 years is not a lot of time, you're right. It's not a lot of time. But for those of us out here in the great wide world who have a functional adult life where we do actual shit all day, 3 years is actually a lot of time.
Time period. And, you know, I know I'm not taking care of my health. I mean, it's not rocket science. I mean, anyone with eyes can see that I'm not taking very good care of my health, struggling with eating habits and lack of exercise, and all that stuff. So 316.
Everybody out here with eyes can see except for her. All of y'all out there watching, you guys know that everybody in the girl verse, from me to even the most hateful, disdainful reaction channel, has pointed out to her the fact that she has ballooned in size, that she has all these secondary issues that all kind of interlace with the diabetes that everybody in the great wide world has known that she has had since before the Natter arc and the snow skiing and all that other stuff that went on. This one, I can't with the lack of self-awareness.
When I fast and wake up and take my blood sugar, it was 230. So,
by the way, fasting at 2:30, that means that your ass ate something that was still floating around in your system.
Oh, I went to see a doctor here about it. I told Salah my blood sugar is pretty high, and he said I'll take you to a doctor tomorrow whenever I took my blood sugar for the first time.
Tell us how much he loves you, Foodie. Your blood sugar was that high that it really needed some sort of intervention, and he tells you, I'll take you to the doctor in the morning. That right there should let you know that mofo don't give two damns about you. He don't. Chicken Pickle did a great video that she's done this whole diabetic cycle 3 other times before. Yeah, I know of at least one that I've got like in-depth info on from watching her previously, but can't say that it shocks me, Oh yes, this is not new. Yeah, see this, I think there is some deflection going on here, and I do think that she said outright a couple of times previously, this all fell into this health arc, and I need to lose weight and I need to be healthy and all this other bullshit. That at this point is extremely questionable. I would say highly unlikely. Mainly because, number one, the last mention of a doctor was that sit-down video where she was eating and she said, they did all my blood work, everything included, my liver enzymes, my fasting glucose and all of whatever. Okay. And she claims they came back normal. I don't think she went to a fucking doctor. I think she got this wild hair up her ass because she started seeing symptoms wide open, kind of smacking her in the face. And she bought this glucose monitor, and here we are. Because there is no way in the Sam hell that she went into a doctor's office, had her blood pressure read as high as she was saying that it was reading, and her being the size that she wouldn't have rolled out of that office with some medication. And there's also no way that she had any sort of blood work, because if that were the case too, she would have been on medication for her damn blood sugar too. I don't believe anything that really comes out of Foodie's mouth, especially when it comes to her physical status. And as you all know, that's part of what led me into the girlverse like proximity, is the fact that there's so much dishonesty on the part of Foodie and ALR. And I'm 500 pounds, I'm 400 pounds, and I'm healthy, you guys. I have no problems. Motherfucker, you a liar. That's just all there is to it. If being a lying, manipulative fuckwit were an actual formal diagnosis, these two would have chronic cases of it. That's just fact. My husband was diagnosed with type 2 to 130 fasting glucose. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That is ridiculously high. That is hospital admission, ongoing lab work for multiple days, reading 316. Okay. And that's why I say I don't believe any any of it. Oh, there's no question. There's no question about that, Hannibal. There's plenty of stuff that we will be talking about in relation to the stuff that she has said, that she's brought up. And I'm going to kind of burst that little bubble there, you know. Just tested my blood sugar, 112, 2 hours after meals. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Do it, Oranges. You got it, girl. Hannibal probably TikTok videos. She references Berg, and he is a joke. Jarella, me and Jarella on a wavelength today. He is. We're going to get into all that, you know. Let's see. She's only hurting herself with her lies and delusions. That's exactly true. And that's why I made that short that I made saying, you know, the lying is only hurting you, because all of us out here that she calls idiots and zombies and whatever name she can steal from your mama, every one of us are getting up every day and leading functional, productive lives in a relative state of health. She's not. That's the difference. And for some reason, she seems to think that what she's doing is hurting us when it couldn't be the furthest thing from the truth, you know? Right. She's pushing it, and the God's honest truth, I don't really think that Sala would do anything for her until she actually went into full-blown ketoacidosis coma. You know what I'm saying? Blah, blah. I'm having tongue-tied problems today. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And I think that's the only reason. I think between feeling bad and some other things that she noticed, I would almost bet that she was like, I wonder if it could be the diabetes. And that's what led her into that. Yeah, if you want real science. Yep. Salabot has a sister as a pharmacist. She would have told Sala that Chin's needed. Right. But I don't really think that he's telling anybody. I don't think he's really telling anybody the details of what's going on with her. He just goes in there and says, I need Celexa. And that's about it. My doctor would never have let me leave the office without medication. Exactly. I'll rephrase. Let's put it the most sound, logical way ever. Any doctor who is not a quack would not have let you roll out of that office. That's why I don't think that she has actually been in somebody's office. I just don't think it. I just don't think so. This would be a good time to buy me a ticket to. Ooh, well, here's the deal. I think honestly, even if Foodie died, Shmi would not leave. Shmi ain't leaving Canada. Even if she were to go into DK, how fast would emergency service be able to access her if she gets even bigger? Man, I'm going to tell you, I can't speak to the emergency services in Kuwait simply because of, I've never been there. I don't really know nobody that lives there. But what I do know, speaking, you know, in relation to the US's actual standards and how they function, you don't get just paramedics. You get the entire fire department crew coming in to lift somebody who's that heavy. There was a lady that I took care of years ago. She was probably about my height, 5'10", and she weighed 580 pounds when she showed up to the nursing home. It took everybody from the fire department. It took 2 crews of EMS, which is 4 people in total. It took about 10 of them to carry her out of her house because she was so heavy. And they're realistically, from what I remember, they actually had to pry the door frame off from around the door to be able to make the door wide enough to get the stretcher through because she hung so far over it. There have been people I've heard of, same community that I moved from, where they have actually cut windows, cut sections out of the walls of houses to pull people out. And I mean, it's entirely possible, but it is very, very, it can be very messy in the process. Let's see. Can't get over how stupid she is. I mean, she's stupid. There's no question about that, but she has a lot of issues in relation to her mental health that I truly and honestly feel skews her perspective on everything. That's why we get this whole thing of I'm a little skinny queen, even though she's 400 pounds. Sansa, I'm not going to get real elaborate into it. I mean, everybody in our in the Twitter sphere and then girl world, we've got a lot of conversation going on it already. I'm just going to kind of like throw anything additional out there on it and kind of refute some of the bullshit that she's throwing in here, because I mean, we know she's notorious for bending and molding things to suit whatever narrative she's trying to spew at the moment. Plus, she would not fit in an elevator with paramedics. Right. Realistically, I still think that I still don't think she's very high up in the building anymore, based on the fact that we hear so many auto sounds now that we didn't hear before. People driving by on the road. It wasn't nearly as prominent earlier in the Kuwaiti arc, well, in the fart box, than it is now. I mean, you feel like you're literally sitting roadside with just a wall between you and the cars. We had a defense contract employee code. That was my only experience with that country. Well, I mean, that's something. Right. What stress trying to, right. She's got that Bonnie and Clyde stress going on, running from the Kuwaiti government. Are emergency services and hospitals in Kuwait even equipped to handle Foodie's size? That's a good question, because I mean, Foodie loves to say that Kuwait has an obesity problem. What she doesn't really seem to think, and we've heard her say it over and over again, that she's chubby. Boo-boo, you're not chubby. You're not just obese. There's a drastic difference between obese and what she is. I mean, if you want to get right down to it, and y'all are going to have to forgive me, I am sweating. It is hot in this room. So this thing's got to come off. I would be considered obese. I am 5'10" and I weigh 196 pounds. And by the BMI standard, I am obese. I am not considered normal range. So if I'm considered obese, what does that tell you about the Kuwaitis, the country of Kuwait's obesity problem? You're talking about people who may be just past that little bit of extra padding in the midsection and stuff like that. She has far surpassed that. I can almost guarantee you that if you sat down and compared her to obese people in Kuwait, that she would probably double those people in size. They had to tear open and cut the wall for a guy that was morbidly obese when he passed here. Yep. It is a hot mess when it comes right down to it. And the sad thing with situations like that is usually people who are super morbidly obese like that, if they don't have somebody who keeps up with them are the type of people that will pass away. And then you won't even really realize that it's happened until the flies start to accumulate. It's really wild. I have some boxes left before I go, but now someone on the street. She has oppositional defiance disorder and will not do what people are telling her to do. Yeah, absolutely. This has been a spiral for her. And it is what it is, and realistically, that's why I have really no pity for her in relation to all of the things that she has subjected herself to. Going to put this live on Twitter. Oh, thank you, Alexis. Very sweet of you. Sounds like she's on the bottom floor. Yeah. See, yeah, there's very subtle things going on there that kind of leads to believe they're not in the same apartment anymore. Yeah. Hey, whoever figures that out, they got some big brain power going on. There's no question. Most people are overweight to the perspective of what obesity actually means. It's very skewed by the general population. Yes, it is. I mean, realistically, and I always use myself as an example. I mean, if I got down below 175, which is where I'm actually working toward, that would put me in normal BMI range. Right now, I'm 196. There's not that drastic of a difference. You're talking 15 pounds, which, for me is really not a terrible amount of weight to lose. Although it's that last 15, the last little bit is always the hardest to get off. But I am actually, in my medical paperwork, I am listed as an obese woman and have been for quite a while. Even when I got down to I think I got to 180 right before I plateaued down at 170. At 180, they were still calling me obese. So, yeah, she's well past that point. There's a good people staring at her and telling, and if she looks that bad filtered. Oh, yeah, man, I can't even imagine. And we're going to talk about all that. Holy moly. Yeah, that's a smell that you can't get rid of. Even newly dead folks have a particular sort of smell to them, but the longer it goes on, the more pungent it gets, and it feels like you're never going to clear it from your nose, if you know what I mean. No, I agree, Shelley, and that's not what I'm saying. But when I say like being 15, 20 pounds over where I should be, that is what I'm saying. It qualifies me as obese. And for me to be obese, and I'm very tall, and some of you guys have seen me. I have posted videos of me where you can see everything. And I am rather normally proportioned, even for being a little on the overweight side, versus her, who's carrying probably 350 pounds more than what her frame is actually designed for. I mean, I actually talked to Hannibal about this at one point on a live. For 5'1", her actual BMI, she should weigh about 110 pounds based on her frame. And she is literally 3 times plus that amount. So she's playing with fire and has been for a while. Well, let's continue here.
It was like 369 when I took it that night. So before I go on,
which, by the way, that is the standard for an ER visit right off the get-go. That is not a wait till in the morning.
Any medications, I just want to give it an honest try for now with diet and exercise, which they did say is the main thing that will help if I reduce some weight. And
yes, after you get on something to regulate your blood sugar, because if you're not on anything and your blood sugar, you're literally fighting against your blood sugar. So her saying she doesn't want to go on medication and she wants to try to do this on her own, she's going to fail.
If my blood sugars are still out of whack, I'll have to go on medication. When it gets really hard, which it really is, I just give up.
That is pretty much the summary of her life. If anything gets a little tough, she just gives up. That is the summary of Foodie Booty's life. Anything that requires any sort of actual participation on her part will never happen, including this.
Getting up there in age, I'm 39. Let's face it,
I left that in there because of that whole comment. I'm getting up there in age. I'm 39. For those of y'all that are out here in the chat, if you're older than the age of 39, do you feel like you're up there in age? I asked that question because I'm 6 years older than Foodie, and I am in really good health despite the little bit of padding I've got on my booty. All of my lab work came back amazing. I haven't had health problems in years. The most actual participation that I have to do to maintain my health is to make sure that I take my hormone replacement and I take my multivitamins every day. I mean, I expect there to be some sort of feeling it with age. I mean, I do feel some of it. I mean, I feel it. I've told you guys I have arthritis from my hips down, and that's because I was an active person as a morbidly obese woman. At 350 pounds, I was playing basketball and running and doing all kind of stupid stuff that I should not have been doing at that size. So yes, in that regard, I feel it. It gets cold outside, it rains outside, I feel it. But overall, I feel great. And I'm older than her. That's sad. That is really sad state of affairs. I'll be honest with you. I mean, we know that she is actually 39. I mean, her birthday's been out there floating around for a while now. 5'1" and I was 110 in high school, and then went 145 and I'm overweight, but not Foodie overweight. Right. Sometimes at 50. Yeah. 57. Well, I expect that, as time gets older, not everybody ages as gracefully as the next person does, See, and Panda, you gonna continue to keep that health intact, taking them stairs, honey. You gonna do this. 60 and feel fantabulous. Go ahead, celebrity juicer. That's what I'm talking about. And that's part of why I get so in depth on the videos related to her and Amber and the bullshit that they spew about their weight and their health status. Because if there's anything that I could say that could teach somebody out there what they can do to help make their lives better, their health better, then that's really more of what I'm interested in, because we already know we're never going to reach these women. They are so mentally shut off from doing things that is not their way that we're never going to see the other side of this. It's just not going to happen. I'm 51 and I do because I have great health till last month in a medical emergency. And wow, that's a lot. God bless you, Shelley. I hope you're feeling better now. Right, exactly. I have been seeing plenty of people who reserved type 2 and got off meds. They were on meds and actively working with their doctors and a team until it was safe to taper them off. Doesn't she have a pool at the apartment? Yeah, somebody brought that up in her comment section, and she was like, "It's a mixed gendered pool with a frowny face. Like she can't find some time in the middle of the night when all these other normal people in her building are sleeping to go get in the pool." She makes it sound like she's just completely closed off from it because there are men that live in the building. It's insane. Don't worry about, she won't be miraculously cured. True enough. She'll find some sort of something. Exactly. Holy moly, this is the fastest I have ever seen this chat go. Now I see why it is that people get wigged out when they got a bunch of people floating around. We got conversation going that. Exactly, Jarella. See, me and you understand each other. It's not about being thin. It's not about being cute. It's about being healthy. It's about being strong and making it possible for you to do what you need to do to take care of yourself. And that's really all. That's a good question, and I would love to see how that plays out. Let's continue.
Really physically have the physical capabilities. Some even 80-year-olds even have more of physical capabilities than me. And I'm not being hard on myself. I'm just actually being really realistic.
No, she's not. And for her to say that God's honest truth, that she feels like she's 80 years old and that there are probably 80-year-olds that are in better health than her, that's 100% true. For those of you guys that have been around for a little bit, when I first moved here, you guys know that I worked at a assisted living for a while. I had a gentleman in the assisted living that was 102 years old. His only health problems were that he had hypothyroidism, and then he had like some onset of memory issues, and that's it. He cooked for himself when he felt like it. He cleaned his own house. He made his bed. He washed himself with the exception of his back. I mean, what does it say when you've got people who are over 100+ years old who are more capable of taking care of themselves than Foodie? Okay, I just stilled this. This is not going to be enough. This lose weight, eat healthy, exercise regularly, stop smoking, fewer carbs. By the way, that's redundant. Drink more water and get enough sleep. This is not going to be enough. It's not. For her, it's not. She's going to have outside intervention in relation to pharmaceuticals. That's just a fact. It's a fact. Oh, wow.
I need to start with my diet. I need to cut out all of the bad things. I don't order out. I'm all day cooking things.
All the bad things. Now, less than a month ago, when we were on our binge eating recovery and intuitive eating, there was no such thing as bad foods, if we'll recall. Isn't it funny how that story has changed?
You know, like, I'm going to make a cobbler. I'm going to make cookies. My health
The level of excitement when she said cookies, y'all.
is not good. You know, I have sleep apnea. I use a CPAP machine. I have high blood pressure. I have diabetes. You know, I was in denial so long about that, like, because I thought I'm pre-diabetic. I'm not going
She ain't been pre-diabetic in probably 5 years or more.
to become diabetic. I don't know why I was in such denial that I would ever get diabetes.
That's got my ears on fire. She's acting brand new about a diagnosis that she's had for at least 3 years, y'all. At least 3 years.
You know, I have depression, anxiety. I have all these things I just need to reverse.
You know what? When would have been a good time for that, Foodie? When your ass was still in Canada and you had access to a healthcare system that was available to you anytime you fucking needed it.
They say it takes 21 days, right, to build good habits if you're consistent.
The key word is consistent.
So that's what I just need to do.
I don't see it happening either.
I don't even know. I don't even want to really eat because I look at my stomach. I look at the flesh on my body, the amount of fat I have. I have a lot of energy storage that I could be using for fuel. I don't feel like I want to put more calories in my body. I mean, I have so many already, you know.
Okay, so I left that in there because number one, I look at all the flesh on my body. This is the woman who has declared over and over again that she's better looking than 90% of YouTube and that we're all jealous of her and that even though she's fat, she's still pretty and she has pretty privilege. So there's that. Number two, the whole, I don't want to put any more calories in my body. Number one, I don't think that she has actually done any real research on what it means to be a diabetic when she's actually going through this 14-hour a day fasting cycle, which between her history and her pattern of behavior and the fasting blood sugar she's giving us, there's no way in hell she's fasting that long. Just not humanly possible. We have sat here many times on live stream and watched Foodie be focused on what's in the chat and be steadily putting food in her mouth and not realizing how much she's ate until what she had in her hand is gone. And this whole next video, which we're not going to watch all of that. I just clipped it to show. So, hit the high points, Reader's Digest version sort of deal.
No, I noticed some habits of myself that by watching this video, I just don't seem to care about portion size. And
oh no, she cares about portion size. She absolutely does. The problem is that the portion is never big enough for her. Those family size troughs of rice, that is what she wants. She wants to eat to the point where she feels physically uncomfortable. That falls into the issue with the binge eating disorder, which everybody on this side of the camera has been yelling, go get mental health. Go get some mental health help. But she doesn't want to hear that. Because again, that would require her to actively participate and do something that resembles work, which she will not ever do. We know this about her.
And it gives me a temporary escape from everything.
There you go. Tell us how happy you are about your life, Foodie. Tell us how happy you are. Tell us how in love you are and how great your life is in Kuwait when we have seen what has happened to you over the short time span of a year.
My hunger cues are way skewed because of that.
Her hunger cues are non-existent because she doesn't give her body time to recognize anything that would resemble being full.
My hormones are out of whack.
Don't blame that. Don't blame that.
You know, all have natural hormones that tell us when we're hungry, when to stop.
Again, don't blame that. You have trained your body into this, ma'am.
I don't even listen to those.
She doesn't listen to anything.
The amount of full good days I've had in a long time are near zero.
Near zero, try zero. We have not seen a successful day of actual healthy eating in moderation yet.
I end up caving at night, being so hungry or just not being able to give into those urges.
Do we notice a trend here? She says most of her eating issues are at night. What else did we see that happened at night recently? That live stream where she was on here chain smoking and boohoo crying and saying she doesn't have peace and that she just wants to feel comfortable in her own home. That whole situation with her eating the way that she does at night is because Saul is asleep. And at night, she's in the same sort of predicament that Amber is in right now, living on her own. She is stuck alone with herself, with her thoughts, with her emotions, and it is eating her alive. So she does the only thing she knows to do. I was trying to be nice.
It's just, for me, it scares me, the thought of raw dogging life. Like, I know and then there's food, which is my biggest escape, my biggest comfort. And if I take those away, I feel like I'm raw dogging life.
Welcome to adulthood, bitch. That was ugly. But I don't care. For those of y'all that are out there, I think it's pretty safe to say that we can all acknowledge that dealing with life is hard. Right? Absolutely, Hannibal. I don't go back to work until Thursday night. You tell me when you want to do. I'm down, my man. We got one example of her raw dogging something. It was a disease-infested crackhead, but that's probably all. Right. Yep. Exactly. Amen to that. That sounds good. I'm looking forward to that. We're going to have some fun. It's been a little while. Dealing with life as it is on life's terms, it is hard for everybody. But the fact is that a lot of people out here, we find a way to cope with the things that go on. We don't turn to self-destruction to deal with it or to escape it. We seek out the things that make us happy to help us deal with what is going on when things are tough. We take stock in what we're going through is only temporary. But her, she cannot deal with reality in even the slightest sense of the word, and it's wild.
I need to get addicted to the feeling of feeling good.
That's the problem. She's been addicted to the feeling of feeling good since the day that Grandma plopped her in front of the TV and handed her a bag of Doritos. Her and ALR both. They are too comfortable with being comfortable. I have said this many times. That feel good for them outweighs everything else. Their family, their friends, their money, their health, their lives. This is a true sign of what an eating addiction looks like. Heidi, I know, I just popped the first brand out that came to mind. And I don't really feel sorry for Foodie. This is a hell of her own creation at work here.
That's what it is. And the thing is, I'll never be ready. I'm waiting to be ready. I'll never be ready.
Again, welcome to adulting.
I never, ever want to go through the discomfort of having to change.
And that is where we've said that before too, in that same conversation. These girls are too comfortable with being comfortable, and they will never change, because change is a path wrought through discomfort. And she's saying herself outright that she doesn't want to do shit that's uncomfortable. That's why I don't think that, despite this little short-term situation she's got herself in, she's going to find a way to talk herself out of it. So this is just, okay. Now, the fact that she cooked all this crap at the house, I've said it before, it doesn't mean anything, okay? All of this is all carbs, okay? This is all processed. It's all loaded with salt. She could have shit on a platter and ate it and probably got more nutritional value out of it. And that right there, I don't even know why anybody would want to eat that, but such as it is. This was probably the healthiest thing out of that entire video that she ate. And even that has a high salt content because it's canned tuna. This. The fact that she really, the first thing that should have happened after she realized that this has turned into a bigger issue than even she realized, that house should have went on a full-on detox. Sala should have went in there with boxes and unloaded everything that had a high sodium content, a high sugar content, was processed. It should have all fucking went out the door. He could have gave it to somebody. He could have threw it away. He could have found something else to do with that. This was the worst possible choice for her to put into her. Between this and the Capri Sun, she has been drinking her calories more than she's been eating them, probably. Because a lot of people don't really realize this, I don't think. But in medical settings, a lot of times if you're dealing with somebody whose blood sugar is too low, if they're hypoglycemic and they are alert, one of the first things we give them is orange juice. That's because it's got a lot of natural sugar in it, and it makes it easier to get into their system to bring their blood sugars back up. And she drank 2 of these things. Holy God. We took all the sugary food, all the carbs and starches to the food bank the week. Yep. If you don't want to throw it away, I get it. Donate it. Give it to friends. Give it to your neighbors. Do something. Say, hey, look, something's come up. I can't have this stuff anymore. Would you like it? Most people are not going to tell you no. I don't either. And that's a very tricky thing that a lot of people don't really think about, especially when they do go on some sort of diet regimen, is they focus on the food but not on the drinking. You have to be very, very careful about that, because caloric intake via beverages is very, very sneaky. And she's just completely blind to it. This is a starchy vegetable. And I understand why she chose it. I like corn too. I don't know too many people who don't like corn, but that's just me. I'm sure there may be somebody out there that don't. But this is just a lot of starchy vegetable, a lot of butter, and a lot of salt that she did not need. And to her, she probably thinks this is healthy. That's sad. And y'all, this looks like she opened a can of cat food and poured it over some carrots and some rice. Whoever told this woman that she's a good cook has lied to her over and over and over again. It's woo. Blech. Blech. And here we are with this again. This, y'all got all these ground up graham crackers. You've got berries that's loaded with natural sugar. And that right there is probably 3 or 4 servings of it at one time.
Say?
Okay. So 164 and a half, y'all. 300. She's claiming it's 300.
Okay, 164.5 kg. That's what I weigh.
That's not what you weigh, but we'll continue.
Okay. Like I said, I've been fasting for about 14 hours, so.
Ain't no way in hell.
Oh, that's fasted. I also took my blood sugar reading, so I'll insert that here.
That's par for the course for her, though. How is her mouth not sugared out? Well, here's the deal. And a lot of people have kind of taken notice that she's having problems with her teeth. At first, it was with the chicken strips and she claimed that the breading on it kind of stabbed her in the gum. But even in this video, at one point, she starts chewing on one of those cashews and she winces her face up. So her teeth are having problems. The fact is that in relation to your dental health, behind smoking, uncontrolled blood sugars and excessively sugary foods like that are like the number 2 reason that people's teeth rot out of their head. Right. You can almost bank on that. I mean, and we already know that the teeth, those little baby teeth that look like she's missing all the time, those things are probably already got issues that have been long-standing, you know?
I have some salted jumbo barbecue flavored cashews in the room.
In the room. She's talking about in the bedroom, y'all.
They're now Solos. I used to hate on keto. You know what it is? It's the dirty keto. You know? But I understand the idea of eating low carb if you're diabetic.
I don't think she does. And her hating on keto is simply because it was something that would require her to make sacrifices.
So I apologize if I just sounded
just because.
Really know-it-all before with that. I can act like that sometimes. I should start
all the time. If it isn't the diabetes, it's Islam, it's Christianity, it's running a business, it's buying a car, it's you name it. Starfishing, you name whatever the topic is, and she wants to be this authority on it.
Group somewhere so we can share recipes and things like that.
Great, that's just what you need. Somebody else to fuck around mentally with simply because you're a twit.
Remember that old saying? Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. We'll scratch that and say, nothing tastes as good as healthy feels.
She looks really happy about that too, doesn't she?
Right now, I have to. Like, I can't even have things in moderation because it's not just about weight loss anymore. It's about health.
And here's where her problems are going to arise. She's basically gone from 0 to 100, and that's generally her way. But knowing what we know about her binge eating problems, that's why I've said she is not going to go 14 hours fasting. It is physically impossible for her. Number one, because of her binge eating issues, her mental health problems, you name it. This is how she deals with everything. And as somebody who does intermittent fasting, I do 16 hours a day. She's trying to behave as though she literally overnight went from eating, grazing, literally from the moment she woke up to the moment that she goes to bed, to I fasted 14 hours today, y'all. That's fucking bullshit, because it is not that easy. And if you plan for it to have any sort of staying power, you don't go from all, a free for all to nothing for 14 hours. It does not work. You have to ease your way into it. She's going to end up failing. There will be a video at some point of her saying, I lost control and I binged today. It's coming.
And I can't eat things that will spike my blood sugar, because I'm literally on the verge of literal health crisis.
You passed that point already. You passed that point days ago.
And it can be very depressing at first, because when food is when you use food to cope with things and you take that away, you have to find whole new ways to cope.
No shit.
If I lose weight and get healthy, regain my health.
I love how she said that. If I'm going to lose weight and get healthy, and then she says, regain my health. At no time frame during the infinite number of years that she's been on YouTube has she ever been healthy. And based on the things that we've learned about her, for most of her life, majority of her life, she hasn't been healthy. I can almost guarantee you the last time she was healthy, she was in utero. And the only reason that was the case is because she wasn't choosing what was being eaten. Her mother was. Again, that goes back to, so long as she is in control of things, she will never make any progress.
All kinds of things, So I'm just being really strict at first because of that. And I will always have to be strict and really mindful of these things. I realize that, because slipping up is so easy. All it will take is one bologna sandwich, for instance, on white bread with chips, and I know that will cause a spiral.
That right there is, kind of a summary of exactly how bad things have gotten for her when something as small as a bologna sandwich. And by the way, to anybody out there who prefers bologna, knock yourself out. I am not a fan, have never really been a fan, and have been completely 100% shut off from it when I found out what's in it and how it's made. I found that out, and I think I was probably 6 or 7 years old when I learned that. Yeah. I don't care what you do to it. I don't care if you fry it. I don't care. It's nasty. I don't want a part of it. I'll pass. But the fact that something that simple is enough to completely derail any prospect of progress, that says a lot about her mental health and where she is. So I didn't keep a lot of this whole walking video in here because a lot of this shit to me was performative. But the little sections that I did keep, it's really kind of sad to watch, simply because I have been 350 pounds. I know how hard it is to move around, and I know how uncomfortable it can be. And having lived in a body that size, you don't want anything more than to be anything but that size. Look at her gait, y'all. On that bottom step, if that foot had taken even the slightest deviation, she would have went down. and this was the part that got me. Watch how she's stepping up these steps. And there we are again. On that last step, that foot had come down even the slightest bit off, she would have went down. Her gait and her gait is all kind of wrong. She has all sorts of issues. I mean, we know that belly is literally hanging down on the front of her thighs. We know that it's so fibrous and so large that her knees are not touching. It will create all sorts. We have seen what has happened to her shoes, the soles of her shoes being worn to the point where she's literally walking on the outsides of her feet. If she falls at some point, that may be the last time for her, because the God's honest truth, and I don't think she realizes this, and I know ALR doesn't, but with super morbid obesity, osteoporosis is a real thing for these people. And if she thinks that having this big meat wrapped around them big bones that she likes to claim, she's going to find out the hard way. She catches the right issue on the right day, she may end up down for the count permanently. Right. And well, that's been ongoing. I mean, she is continually outgrowing every abaya that she's bought. We're fixing to get into this. So this is December of 2022, y'all. Look at how easy her movements are here. And the sad thing about that is even at that time frame, we were making fun of the fact that she was already gaining weight. The fact that she was acting so brand new, like this dainty little thing. And isn't it kind of shocking now to look back and to see how far her health and her capability to simply move has disintegrated? Very little struggle. I'm going to turn the volume down just a smidge. Now, here we are in June. No, July, sorry. Look at this. That is literally 6 months, y'all. Maybe a little bit more. Look at her struggling. This is the state that she's in right now. Look at how stiff and rigid she is there. How red her face got. How difficult it was for her to simply breathe.
This is my
all right, 290. Okay.
Fasting blood sugar for today. Kuwait has an obesity issue. If you look it up.
We done already talked about that.
And then we have the main course, but I'm going to eat this first. Actually, I'll eat them all at once, whatever.
That right there sums it up for you. Now, I'm not trying to say that these are bad choices in relation to what she's picked out. I mean, realistically, her main entree here is actually not terribly bad in relation to what she's chosen, but she probably should have done without the soup. She could have had the salad and that entree, and that would have been more than enough for her calorically to sustain her for a single meal, but not for a 14-hour fasting day. I really think that this whole I'm going to fast, I'm going to do OMAD, all that stuff. Personally, I think that if anything, she's going to try to utilize it as a method to binge. What's going to happen is the diet food is going to go the way of the dodo bird very shortly, despite how much she's talking about it. And it's going to turn into a pizza mukbang where she eats the whole pizza in one sitting and says, well, guys, I'm doing OMAD. And that's going to be the excuse.
Last night that I did my mukbang, I'm pretty sure it raised my blood pressure because after it started I started digesting the food. I felt like my heart beating. I was extremely thirsty. I had a headache. So my issue is also not only blood sugar, but also high blood pressures.
Is anybody out there shocked? I asked that question because, God's honest truth, we've had that conversation many times too. I mean, her diet literally consists of basically just processed sugar and salt. I don't know. I don't know why she's acting so brand new. Girl, I would love to actually see some blood work on her. I bet it has got to be fascinating to see exactly how far she's pushed her body. Yep, I've been talking about that too. You can see it in her hands because she's got the really puffy hands that have a sheen on the back of them, and that's really indicative of CHF. That would explain too why one side of her face is real puffy like that. She's got a conglomerate of problems, not just high blood pressure or just diabetes.
So, but people with high weight are also at medical risk. Maybe not as fast, but
people who are obese are medically at risk, but not as fast. She's talking about treatment of eating disorders and the fact that people who are anorexic would have problems in relation to their potassium and in them being housed in inpatient settings. The problem is that she doesn't realize this. With morbidly obese people, their health issues for the most part are silent until they're not anymore. And if she thinks that it's not going to come through fast, she's obviously never dealt with somebody having a heart attack or stroke. That shit is fucking fast. Eventually, your body can only do so much, at least with potassium and stuff like that. It's a relatively easy sort of fix, supplementation, and you start to see the difference really quickly.
I'm trying to avoid going on meds because I was on metformin at one time because I had a hormonal imbalance and I was overweight. So I thought,
and diabetic.
I must be insulin resistant.
No shit.
And they put me on metformin and I cannot handle it. It makes me so sick.
Okay. I have made this comment, like when I was talking about my glasses, when I first got my glasses, I made the comment that my eyeballs were hurting from having the glasses on. And I made the kind of correlation between this and blood pressure, and it applies to diabetes as well. When your body is like hers and you have been running around with your blood sugar 200, 250, 300 plus for a lengthy amount of time, when your blood sugar starts to resemble something closer to normal, you feel like garbage. It is not just with the metformin, it is with everything. I have dealt with people, so many people over the years who were diabetic, who were hypertensive, that when they started taking that decline back to a normal range, that they will tell you for days, I feel like hell. I feel sick. I just feel pitiful. I can't do nothing. I have no energy. I don't want to eat. I don't feel good. That's a normal response to having your body reacclimate to something that is supposed to be an actual normal result. Our bodies are capable of adjusting to the most dire and extreme circumstances, which a lot of people don't really seem to understand or really think about, our bodies can adjust to all sorts of insane things. And that's exactly what's happened to her. That 250, 300 plus, that has become her normal for her body. And her body has adjusted to that, even though it is still slowly destroying itself all at the same time. It's like, okay, well, this is what normal looks like for us. So we're just going to figure it out. So once now she starts throwing something in there that starts to correct the issue, she's going to feel like hell for a while now. For a while. She's literally just one sodium laden meal. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, SH, that's par for the course. It saps your energy. You feel like garbage, but you give it time and you let your body readjust to the new normal that you are creating for it. And eventually through time, it will be fine. You will be fine, but you have to get through the slump. And that's another thing that she will not do because it's uncomfortable.
I'm just one of those, I can't tolerate it. Like, so like, give it time. I was on it for a little while.
A little while, which for her probably meant a week.
Oh, just even the thought of taking the pills makes me ill. And I was watching a video by Dr. Berg.
Oh, here we go. Dr. Berg. That right there tells you where she's getting her information, okay? She is doing Dr. Google, Dr. YouTube. Let's talk about Dr. Berg real quick. So, all right. Let me shrink this down. Dr. Berg. All right, here's the ever so illustrious Dr. Berg. Why is that not? I'm having issues. Screen 2. Allow. There is our ever so illustrious Dr. Berg. All right. Are we ready? Are we ready? Are we ready? Dr. Berg says he discusses the truth about getting healthy and losing weight. He specializes in healthy ketosis and intermittent fasting. He's the director of Berg's Nutritionals, best-selling author on Amazon. His book, The Healthy Keto Plan, describes strategies. He's conducted 4,800 seminars, trained over 2,500 doctors worldwide in his methods. Here's where the issues arise, okay? So, let me tell you a little something about Dr. Berg. Dr. Berg is not a doctor of medicine. He is not a doctor of osteopathy. Dr. Berg is a chiropractor. Okay? I looked up Dr. Berg's licensure. And I found some shit that should be a little concerning here to the average human being. Hang on, let me find it. Okay, let's pop this over here. Back in 2007, Dr. Berg was issued paperwork by the Commonwealth of Virginia for practicing outside of his scope. Okay. To give an example of what that means. As a nurse, I cannot diagnose, I cannot prescribe, there are things that are beyond my level of educational training. And that's exactly what he did here. Let me find it. He had all sorts of incomplete paperwork. I mean, some of the shit is just off the wall. Like, here, we'll cover parts of it. The body restoration technique, a procedure whereby vials containing distilled water were held over certain designated bodily organs or parts while acupressure points on the hands or feet were assessed by the practitioner, allegedly to restore hormone balance and to address symptoms. Contact reflex analysis and alleged nutritional analysis that relies on muscle testing and acupressure points. Then it gets into all sorts of problems. Your medical records for patients A, C, D, F, G, H, and Z do not have signed consent forms. At their initial and subsequent visits, you failed to take adequate medical histories of A through D, G, and H, failed to perform adequate physical exams on A through H. You did not properly manage the patient records or maintain adequate legible or complete records. Let's see. But he was trying to imply, despite the lack of reasonable scientific or medical evidence to support the efficiency of therapeutic benefit of BRT or NAET, you repeatedly advertised and represented to patients and the public, either implicitly or expressly, that these techniques could be used to prevent, alleviate, diagnose, assess, treat, or otherwise ameliorate a variety of conditions and symptoms, to include, but not limited to, allergies, thyroid problems, infertility, depression, migraines, fibromyalgia, PMS, blood sugar problems, arthritis, sciatica, prostate problems, skin-related symptoms, heart problems, stubborn metabolism, as stated in the following. And then it starts listing off all these marketing campaigns that he threw in, including stuff on his website. Then he went in a publication making all sorts of various claims, none of which were backed by actual science. And here's the one that caused me I'm not going to lie, y'all. I had like a visceral response to this. Him talking about treating people. And here at the very bottom, a 5-year-old boy with a rare blood type disorder, idiopathic immunothrombocytopenia, received muscle testing, which revealed that his body was reacting with the chickenpox vaccine. And after treatment with NAET, the boy's platelets shot up. He was energetic. He has had no further bruising. Furthermore, the story of a 47-year-old woman suffering from sluggish thyroid is described. Testing revealed that she was weak on mumps and was successfully treated with BRT. However, there is no reasonable scientific or medical evidence of a causal connection between chickenpox vaccine and IITP or mumps and sluggish thyroid. Okay. There were flyers that he put out. There were all sorts of stuff here. He made undated advertising. So comes right down to it. He was making claims that he, number one, could not make, because he was trying to say that what he was doing is actually causing these people to be healed, which is not even a thing. So he got in front of the board. They went through, did their investigation, and it comes right down to it. And ultimately he was practicing outside of scope. He was doing things and promising things that he could not fulfill, especially with the level of training that he has. Let me find it, because there's a summary here. See, and right here, it says Berg's website claims that he developed BRT approximately 8 years ago. However, a letter from his counsel to DHP investigator dated 8/3/2004 attributes his use of BRT to a continuing education seminar that he attended in 1998. False advertising. Let's see. And it says here, the Board of Virginia actually says he shall cease and desist the use of any and all advertising pertaining to BRT, NAET, CRT, and ACG. That he would have to do continuing education, that he would have to meet all requirements as designated by the board, and that from that point forward, clear and convincing evidence of the violation shall constitute grounds of suspension of his license. Now, this was some years ago. This was in 2007, 2008 that this took place. Realistically, I mean, what it comes down to is this man, and I saw somebody say it at one point, he is a fucking quack. He is a snake oil salesman. He is giving advice on shit that he has no specialization in. Okay, he is coming across trying to be this nutritional specialist in keto and God, whatever else. He has no formal training to back that. And to add to it, there are other people who actually have formal training that are calling him out. Do you guys remember the name Abby Sharp? Abby Sharp is the one that did the reaction to ALR's video 2 years ago. I know you guys remember her because ALR did her little response video. A year later, a year ago, this little lady redid that. She did a follow-up video on it. But this lady is an actual registered dietitian. I have looked her up. You can find her licensure online, just like every other medical provider in the United States. She actually has the formal training. This is her job. And even she has called out Dr. Berg, saying that he does not have the formal training to be able to make the claims that he's making. And she has pointed out how contraindicative he is in his standards. He makes the claim that you have to be keto, but then he says it's okay for you to eat processed foods like hot dogs. And this is who Foodie is hanging her fucking hat on for medical knowledge. That is fucking scary, you guys. It is terrifying. Then we've got another one here. This gentleman, he's got a YouTube channel of his own. His name is Gil Chavarge. I'm fixing to murder this. Carvalho. Okay. This is who this is on this video here. This physician, okay, did a response debunking Dr. Berg's videos. Look at this gentleman's education. University of Lisbon, MD, 1996 to 2002. Education, Caltech, PhD in biology, 2003 to 2010. I would be more likely to take advice from this gentleman than I would be from Dr. Berg. Ever. Dr. Berg is coming across as an equivalent of a snake oil salesman. There you go. Camp's pretty much summed it up. I love you, Camps. You're a nutcase. Let's throw into this too. One more. Take a guess at who else is calling him out. His own son.
Hey y'all, it's me. If you don't know who I am, my dad is Dr. Eric Berg. This guy. He's a, I guess well-known keto influencer. This is us. He's also a Scientologist. This was him at my graduation when I tested to Scientology's glorious state of clear. And he gives a lot of money to this cult, like millions of dollars. Anyway, we don't talk anymore because I talk about my Scientology abuse, and they don't like that. They don't think I should live in the past. I think that's bullshit. Anyway, when I was 5 or 6, my dad used to sing me this song he learned the army, and I never really understood it, and I knew it was really dirty, but I didn't really understand it. So I looked it up recently, and I would get banned for life for singing a single word of this song. Please do not. I can't. Please just look it up, but be warned. Trigger warning. Hey, y'all.
Okay, so that was the first one that I could find of his sons that popped up on when I searched. But his son has done numerous interviews calling his own father a fraud, breaking down the fact that he is not a trained physician. He actually used to work for Dr. Berg in his office. He breaks down how it is that Dr. Berg and the system that he has set up in his office is to manipulate people who come in there. And that is who Foodie is getting her information from. Isn't that terrifying? I have said it before. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And I have actually watched some of Dr. Berg's videos before. I didn't really connect it until I started looking at it again. And I was just like, I had watched it I had watched a couple of his videos years ago and didn't think anything of it again until she brought his name back up. And then I went back and started reviewing some of the videos that he's had out that I've watched before. And I was sitting there with the level of training that I have, which is not nearly as extensive as Dr. Caravaggio here. And I was listening to this going, what? This doesn't make any sense at all. Where did he get that from? It is like he is literally pulling information out of his ass and just mixing and matching it to create whatever sort of storytelling he wants for that particular video. And this is not me being a butthole about this, simply because Foodie is seeking this man out to kind of justify the things that she wants to do, because she'll always do that. It doesn't matter who it is. If I made the claim, if I came on YouTube and made a video saying that how rice in large numbers is the healthiest food for you that you could possibly ever eat and it will cure diabetes, she would latch on to that, and I would be this all-knowing expert in diabetes management simply because it fits whatever she wants to fit for her. But shit like this with Dr. Berg is dangerous because a lot of people, all they see is the word doctor and they don't do their research. That's why when this came up and I started doing mine, and I'm one of them kind of people that before I roll into a doctor's office, I'm checking people's licenses. I want to know what kind of shit they've been doing that's gotten them in trouble. I want to know the details. It ain't no different than when I've discussed buying a new car, buying appliances, buying whatever, having procedures done, getting, who puts my tattoos on me. I make sure that I am getting the full picture of what I am getting because I am stuck with it once I accept it. Right. A PhD does not a doctor make, and that will probably make some people angry. I get infuriated by people who get up in their ass wanting to be called doctor when their PhD is in basket weaving or feminine studies or communist societal ideation or whatever the insert random weird ass major here, Right. Dr. Phil has no training whatsoever. That I don't even know how that even became a thing. And the fact that people see that word doctor and they just latch onto it is incredibly scary. It is incredibly, incredibly scary. And Foodie needs to quit fucking around, and she needs to tote her ass into a doctor's office, a real doctor's office with a physician who's actually went to medical school, and they need to connect her with a nutritionist, not a jackass on YouTube peddling keto books on Amazon, and get some real, actual professional guidance. The sad thing is I am not 100% sure that realistically even that would help her at this point. I have said it over and over and over again. Foodie and ALR both need to be in some sort of inpatient situation where they do not have control over what they're putting in their mouths, where they do not have control over the phone or the money. They don't have access. They literally relinquish control, because that is the only way change is ever going to come about for her or ALR. It is ridiculous that we are at this point, that we're even having to have these conversations, because I don't know about you guys, but if I even started having 25% of the problems that she's been having, I would have been gung-ho about fixing it ages ago. Right. Thank you, SH. That is another thing. She claims how much she hates it, and it's touchy-feely and it doesn't do nothing, but that's because she's never actually tried. You know? Agreed. She should have been put on it. That's why I don't think that she actually went to a doctor, because if she went to a doctor's office, they would have put her on something to try to at least regulate it to some sort of extent, rather than just saying, oh, cut your carbs, cut your sugar, eat in moderation, you'll be fine, come back in a month, come back in 6 months. That's not realistic at all. That's why I don't think she actually had any blood work either, and that she lied her ass off in that video where she made the claim that all her lab work was great not even 3 weeks ago. It's bullshit. True enough, but even with the narcissism, she needs some intervention to help deal with that too. You know? No, he's absolutely not. He is so far, it is so far over his head that he is literally at the bottom of the pool looking up, trying to figure out how he got here. He is not equipped, even in the slightest. That too, see, that's another thing. She's even though she's so incredibly focused on the blood sugar thing, and she's focused on the sugar, she's focused on the sodium, she's not focusing at all on the fat. There are so many things that she could be doing to help herself that she could actually see tangible results with, but it takes her actually working with a doctor to get there, which she will never do, because I think she's terrified that she's going to get deported, which may be the case, but it would be the best thing that could ever happen to her. She needs to be somewhere where she has actual competent medical professionals involved in getting her to where she wants to be. Exactly. No, she's not. And that's why I said she needs to be somewhere inpatient where she's not being the one saying, oops, I need to take my meds, oops, and turning her alarm off on her wristwatch. It needs to be somebody bringing it to her saying, it's time for your medication, take your medication. From what I gather of the situation, Wander, is that there have been people that have reached out to her mother And what happens is they end up blocked. I have no question about that, Jarella. I have no question. It's been so long and it's gone so far that there is no doubt in my mind. I would be already up till 5 blood from blood pressure and diabetes. Man, her eyes are already taking a toll. If you'll notice, when she's sitting there, the camera is actually probably about this far away from her. And she's doing this. She's doing that squinting thing to read. That's not a good sign. If the phone is that close to you and you still can't read the writing on the screen, that means there's something wrong. I mean, I've been saying it. The eyes, the kidneys, the blood vessels, every bit of that is damaged by unregulated blood sugar problems. And then throw on top of it the hypertension, it's getting like a combination thrown at it now. It's going to be bad for her. Things are going to be bad for her. Things are going to get dark. They're going to get a lot worse before they get better. And realistically, I think, truth be told, this may be too little too late for her. She needs to fix her brain before yep. And that's another reason why I think she needs to be an inpatient, because then she'll actually be in a situation where she'll be having to basically forced to deal with her mental health problems in addition to everything else. I personally, I don't know how much I trust that, but yeah, I mean, she's done that a couple of times where she changes her location. I don't know why. Not to mention she's not bought her new CPAP supplies in a year or seen a doctor. Right. Her respiratory status has obviously declined. Watch it based on, how her breathing is when we have seen her mobile, when we've seen her stationary. I mean, her respiratory health has obviously declined quite a bit too. She has seen so many issues at once. Yeah. Agreed. She needs the meds while she's working. True. Agreed. That's what I was saying. That should have already been a thing. And her saying that she was told that she can do just diet and exercise. No, not at where she's at. If it were somebody that were, say, 120, 130 and newly diagnosed, that would be one thing. You might be able to get ahead of it with diet and exercise and some weight loss, but not where she's at. She is literally behind the 8 ball here. She's fighting a losing battle at this point, because it would be like her trying to go up against Mike Tyson. You know what I'm saying? She's fighting a battle with an unbeatable foe here. I mean, it's wild. Oh, I just read that. There are only so much you can do to combat physical body damage a lot. Right. Yeah. Agreed. I didn't. High blood pressure would mess up your eyes. If I had, I would have done something about mine sooner. Right. Well, I mean, high blood pressure will mess up your eyes. It will mess up your kidneys. It damages the vasculature in all areas of the body, so you have that to worry about. The only reason I found that out kind of at a young age, like a relatively young age, like in my teens, like before I went to nursing school, my grandmother, she was one of those ones that she had high blood pressure that went unregulated for years, because she's like, I don't need that. I feel fine. And, it's been said there are several things, but high blood pressure is a silent killer. And by the time she did actually finally start doing something about it, it was too late. And she ended up on peritoneal dialysis for a few years before she passed away. It does a lot of damages. It's really, really crazy. Respiratory stress and gasping from weight. Yep. Yep. We've talked a lot of this stuff. We have covered at some length. Even if she loses weight, she'll be left with Yep. I've said that too. The damage is probably done. The fear she's waiting over. Yeah. Hey, this not being able to move and not being able to breathe while you're moving, barely being able to walk over the course of 6 months of change, the fact that you can't sleep without oxygen being forced down your throat. I mean, any one of those things could be your sign, but she is just, she's a fool. Yes, she does. She has symptomology of that too. We've talked on it. Hey, Doe. Even with the damage, you can still have some quality of life. That's very true. But realistically, she even said it herself. I mean, she's probably 10 or 15 years past saving her from the damage that she's done, It absolutely is, and that's indicative of a liver problem, For a short time, I have to agree with you. I genuinely thought for a few years she was purposely self-destructing. I don't think she expected to be here this long. Well, there's a short that I uploaded that I stole from one of her live streams where she said, I don't really care if I eat myself into oblivion. I don't like that. That's basically what she wanted to do. So I don't think she does. I don't think she really has any sort of, I don't think she has any sort of self-preservation instinct at this point. I think it's been gone for a while. She's really more concerned with satisfying whatever it is she wants in the moment and feeling good, which is, indicative of somebody with an addiction problem. Hi, creepy. Oh, yeah, there's no question about that. I can almost guarantee you could bounce a quarter off her belly because it's very round, very barrel shaped. It looks rigid, looks very rigid. I think Pete is the only man who's ever loved Biddy unconditionally as she is, but she thinks, she thinks she's better than everybody, though, Staying with the handsomest floppy titty. I doubt it. I highly doubt that. I honestly think, if anything, Sala's going to be acquiring some life insurance if he hasn't already. That too. Yep. I try to I know I say stuff in such a way that, I'm not using like a lot of the medical terminology, and I try not to get too fancy with the wording because I know a lot of people, I don't want to make it difficult for people to process and understand and apply it later on if they see something. I try to kind of break it down as much as possible to help make it palatable, if that makes sense. You don't leave Canada, live in Kuwait, all the missing. Yeah, she absolutely did. I agree. Yep. Very difficult to get insurance here in particular, but on her, almost impossible. I don't know. He may find some sort of way. Love it when you talk health. You're so informative and understandable. Well, that's kind of my goal. And I've said it before, that was the whole point behind me getting into this, is I want to help make you guys more knowledgeable, because there may be something, even though we're talking about these fools, there may be something that you learn that may help you, or you may be able to help somebody else with by saying, hey, I see this and I might be wrong, but this kind of makes me think of this, and maybe you might want to go to a doctor. Because we have a tendency as individuals, like when we're looking at ourselves, we have a hard time really seeing everything because we're too close to the forest to see the trees, if you know what I mean. Whereas the people that we care about, our friends and our family and people that are closest to us, we can see their stuff just like they can see our stuff. So, having a little bit of an additional insight and a little bit of additional knowledge is never bad for anybody. And if it may help you, or if it may help somebody you care about, then I call that a win. I think she's avoiding the doctors. I think so too. I'm pretty sure I heard they couldn't afford life companies won't pay on a sure thing. I don't know. Maybe. I guess we'll have to see. Either way, Sala better enjoy his fun while it lasts, because the way things are going, she's not going to be around much longer. She has that fluid in her. That's something she should film. Getting it drained at the hospital or the clinic, that would get a lot of views from a ton of people. Yeah, it absolutely would, because if she were to, and I do actually think, let me see. You can actually, there are actually paracentesis videos. Here you go. Hang on. Talking about paracentesis. Here's your opportunity to learn. This is actually a formal procedure video. Which one is shorter? The 5-minute one.
Hello and welcome to ECG Kid Portal. Today, we are going to learn the paracentesis procedure, or tapping of acidic fluid, in detail. Here, the patient in this scenario, 53 male, presented with complaints of abdominal distension, nausea, along with difficulty in breathing. As we can see,
all them symptoms sound familiar, don't they?
The patient is tachypnic with a respiratory rate of more than 24. Often paracentesis is preferred in such cases for diagnosis, to analyze acidic fluid, which is called diagnostic paracentesis, or to relieve tachypnea and other related symptoms, which is called therapeutic paracentesis. In diagnostic paracentesis, only a small amount of fluid is collected, whereas in therapeutic procedure, a large amount of fluid is removed. In this video, we will do a therapeutic paracentesis to relieve the symptoms of patient. Let's get started. First, explain the procedure to the patient and obtain written informed consent. Place the patient in bed with the head elevated 45 to 90 degrees.
Mind you now, I'm pretty sure the patient in this video has had some sort of medication to sedate them somewhat. Not a lot of people are really comfortable with having that done awake, because it's not a comfortable thing to go through.
In patients with obvious and a large amount of ascites, locate an insertion site at the midline between the umbilicus and the pubic bone, about 2 centimeters below the umbilicus. Using a 25 gauge needle, place.
All right. I just got to say it. Trigger warning, trigger warning. It can get a little graphic.
Place a wheel of local anesthetic over the insertion point. Switch to a larger, 20 or 22 gauge, needle and inject anesthetic progressively deeper until reaching the peritoneum, which should also be infiltrated because it is sensitive. When the needle is advanced, maintain constant negative pressure to ensure lidocaine is not injected into a blood vessel. To choose a needle insertion site, carefully percuss, because dullness to percussion confirms the presence of fluid. If needed, use ultrasound to identify a site.
I'm going to tell you the other reason why I kind of know that this person is probably under some sort of sedative effect and everything. The lidocaine that they use for numbing, it burns like the devil. It don't matter where you put it.
Confirming the presence of acidic fluid and the absence of overlying bowel. In selecting an insertion site, avoid surgical scars and visible vein. 18 to 22 gauge needle. For therapeutic paracentesis, select an 18 to 14 gauge needle or a Caldwell needle. Smaller gauge needles lessen the risk of complications, such as acidic fluid leakage, but take longer to complete therapeutic paracentesis. Insert the needle perpendicular to the skin at the marked site. Alternatively, insert the needle using the Z-track method, which can be done in several ways.
What the Z-track method is when you go to either place a needle in for paracentesis, or you go to give certain kinds of injections like iron, what you do is you grab the skin and you shift it just a little bit, so that when you let it go, the skin, when you shift it, it does this. So that when you drop it and let it go, the line, there's not a hole. The holes kind of close themselves off, if that makes sense.
One option, pull the skin, insert the needle perpendicularly, and maintain the skin traction until the needle enters the peritoneal cavity. Another option, puncture just the skin and pull it down, then advance into the peritoneal cavity. A third option, insert the needle at an angle, usually paracentesis. Withdraw enough fluid, that is 30 to 50 milliliters, into the syringe and place the fluid in appropriate tubes and bottles for testing, including blood culture bottles. For therapeutic paracentesis, if a Caldwell needle is used, advance the outer metal catheter over the needle, then remove the needle from inside the catheter. Attach the catheter to a collection bag or vacuum bottle using tubing. To learn more medical procedure and interventions, please subscribe and support us. And do not forget to hit the bell icon.
All right. So when you guys have heard me call it like tapping that belly like a keg, that's the summary, that's hitting the high points of it. It's not, I make a lot of jokes about stuff like that, saying, tapping that belly like a keg, but yeah, I agree. There's plenty wrong there. And I mean, I can't guarantee as to where that actually was filmed at. And the standards are different, obviously, in different places and different areas. But, it does hold true, that's what's going on with her. She's got a lot of fluid buildup in there. And as much as there is that's accumulated, then most likely that's going to be the only method to pull it off. There was somebody that I saw that asked me about the side of her face. The side of her face, I think, has a fair amount to do with CHF, because it's this side of her face that's swollen. And that's usually something indicative of congestive heart failure. You see swelling on the left side of the body, hand, foot, face. And that's what I think. I mean, all of her teeth problems are on her right side, where all of the baby teeth are at, that we've noticed lately. Right, ding dong. She's got all sorts of issues that are unresolved at this point, and the only way that there is going to be any sort of resolve for her is if she actually gets her hands on a provider that is willing to actually sit down with her and manage all of those issues individually, collectively, with their own plan of care to and then meld them all together so that they get the end result that they're looking for. It's kind of the issue that I have with like ALR. She has this specialist and that specialist and primary and all that, but she's telling each one of them something different. So they're all working against each other. She is in god awful shape. So is ALR, but right now Foodie is, if I had to triage, and a lot of people don't know, like in emergency situations, like mass casualty sort of stuff, you have tagging systems. You have red, yellow, green. Foodie is a red tag and ALR is more of a yellow tag. Red is like, we got to do something. This person is looking at more than likely some imminent, emergent, life-ending sort of shit coming up. ALRs is kind of like, there's some problems, but it's not going to kill them right away, but something's going to have to be done eventually. And that's kind of where I'm at with those two. And then you have, like, for those of y'all out there, you guys, most of you guys, if I probably ran into you and sat down and talked to you for a few minutes, you guys would probably be mostly green tag folks, because, y'all are fully functioning, overall, relatively healthy adults, I mean, everybody has their problems. That isn't going to, most of which will probably not cause you any serious issue, but just normal wear and tear and just being alive, That's the only thing that Amber has going for her at this point, but we already know it doesn't take long. Doesn't take long for the time to go by. It absolutely is 100% correct on that, Miss T. Is there a color tag for your insanity? Well, because you are not like full on insane. I've dealt with some insane people. I would say you're probably yellow tag camps. I mean, you're pretty chill. You got your moments, but you're pretty chill. So that's why I'm yellow tagging you there. You might have something that you might have to worry about later on, but it ain't gonna take you out right now. That's a good point. ALR has some falls. She's really lucky. I agree. And she's incredibly lucky that she hasn't broken any bones yet either. I had a stage 3 lung cancer and I'm healthy. What does that tell you about the state of affairs that she's got herself in? You know, I mean, cancer is a very, very serious thing. It can result in all sorts of long-term issues just from the treatment side of, cancer. So the fact that you are in better health than her right now, that says a lot. That sounds good to me. So, all right, y'all. We turned a 10-minute video into a 2-hour live stream. I don't know how we managed, but it has been a good time thus far. And I've really had a good time talking to you guys and having discussions back and forth. This is part of why, and I've said it before, I do what I do because I want us to be able to talk and to share information and, encourage each other and push each other to do better, because we can always do better. We always have the potential to become the best possible version of ourselves. And that for me is the entire point of this whole thing we call life, is to be the best possible version of ourselves at any given moment, and I think that should be something that we all strive for, and that includes these two knuckleheads who absolutely refuse to do so. And then they're shocked that they're miserable and that things don't go their way. And it's really kind of frustrating for people out here who are like, we do this. We say and do the things that we do watching you because you don't see it. And even when you do, you don't care. And I am always going to be here for the bullshit, and to sit here and chop it up with you guys anytime you like, because like I said, that's whole part of what I want for us to do here. I want us to learn. I want us to better ourselves. I want us to make life better for us, for the people we care about. Oranges, porranges, I'm working on that, love. I'm working on it. It's been slow going. I'm still doing some research because when I wrote the zombie paper 40 million years ago, feels like, I got rid of all my research material. I wrote the paper and everything else went in the garbage. So as you can imagine, I forgot a lot of the stuff. I forgot a pretty solid amount of the stuff that I read. So I'm having to go back through and kind of do some more research and refamiliarizing myself, because I don't want to just be on here talking bullshit, just talking about stuff that I can't 100% really give the source material for, I'm glad that it is SH. I mean, I want you guys to be equipped. I want you guys, I've said this, as a nurse and doing what I do, a big part of what I feel makes it possible for people to be healthier is for you to have the knowledge that you need to be able to make your decisions. And that's an issue that I have always had for a while now with the way things have become. Here, take this pill, see you again in 30 days. No. Why are they on the pill? Tell them what it does. Tell them what they need to do for themselves when they're not in your office to make the medication work better for them. Tell them why this is going to have this sort of side effect on their body. Prepare them. Make it possible for your patient to meet you in the middle. Exactly. There you go. Okay. You do absolutely 100% have to self-advocate. And I am 100% for that. And if you have people in your life as medical professionals who believe in advocating for you, because that is part of what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to help be your advocate. But I want my patients to be as educated as humanly possible so that they can advocate for themselves too if I happen to not be there, which does happen. I mean, there are plenty of things that go on that may take your nurse away from the room, something may happen and they may not be there that day or whatever. I want people to be able to say, okay, here's what I know. Here's what I have heard. Here's how it may apply to me. Here's how it might not apply to me. And then you go in with some sort of ability to maneuver that situation in case you don't have somebody there who is willing to step up and say, hey, wait a minute, we need to talk to them about this, 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 and this. You know, I want people to be prepared. The more prepared you are, I think the easier it makes life for you. And that is incredibly specific to when it comes to knowledge. Knowledge is power. I know everybody's heard it. Knowledge is power. If you teach yourself, you learn every day, it makes you more prepared for things that you never thought you would ever have to be ready for, you know? And as crazy as the world continues to get and how lax things get as time goes on and how many things falls through the cracks, I absolutely want you all to have some sort of knowledge base in that area. Yes, dear God, please don't use Dr. Google. Dr. Google never even passed the entry exams. He never got accepted to med school. Don't trust his diagnoses, okay? There was something else I was going to say. I can't think of what it was. I lost my train of thought. My train of thought derailed, y'all. Lord have mercy. All right. So I guess that's going to be it. I'm going to let you guys kind of mull it over. If you have any questions or anything, contact info is in the about section. Email, Twitter, Instagram, don't matter how you reach out to me. On the comments, every now and again, there will be some that'll get pushed to be cleared or reviewed. And the YouTube app doesn't tell you when there's stuff being held for review. I found that out the hard way. So if you notice that I don't answer something, if you ever leave a comment and it takes me a while, if more than a few days goes by and I don't answer, that might be what the issue is. For the most part, you guys know that I will go in and I will say something to everybody, no matter what it is. Even if I don't agree, I'll be like, that's a good point. I totally understand your position, sort of a thing, I mentioned something offhand to my nurse and she said it was a side effect with my medication and took me off it. I didn't think it was connected, but had just been dealing with it. Yeah, well, you never really know unless you actually have those conversations. And there is a lot of stuff about the side effects that are listed. We'll have to get into all that another night, but there's a lot of weird nuances in relation to the varying symptoms that you see with different medications. It's liability stuff, as a summary, but we will talk about that, I guess, later on, and I can kind of give you the skinny on it all. So it's still early. I want you guys to be able to go and have a good dinner and spend time with people you love and just relax a little bit before you have to call it a night, because I know you all have to get up at some point tomorrow and present yourselves as reasonably functioning, responsible adults. So I am going to be here. I'm going to have somebody coming over to help me put up my little gazebo pergola dealio thing. So I'm not leaving the house, and I'm just going to be able to wake up whatever time I feel like. So got that going for me. That don't happen all the time. But I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. I had a really, really, really great time. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Hi, and thank you to everybody on the replay. If you're new here, I appreciate you stopping in. Feel free to come back by any old time. If you'd be so kind to leave me a like or to subscribe, I would really appreciate having you hang out with us. We always have a good time over here when we hang out together and just talk about all kind of crazy stuff. And with that, I'm going to let you guys go. Hope you have a wonderful night. Catch up with you soon. Bye, y'all.